What up, Hope and Skits? It's your girl Skitten, back at it again, here with my husband. Hello, husband. First and foremost, I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you guys are staying safe and sanitized. Can you stop playing your game for 2 seconds?
You've had the same intro. COVID's been over for at least 6 months. They've been safe. They survived.
They have not been safe or sanitized.
This is like the post vampire outbreak.
Like 3 different people told me that they had COVID recently.
They're all day walkers.
Y'all need to wash your hands better. Do better.
If they're gonna continue to huff paint, or I'm sorry, not paint. Whoa, if they're gonna continue to huff people's breath, huff people's spits, they're gonna keep doing it. You can't stop them at this point.
Today, we are here to watch Casual Geographic. The title of this is Why You Wish You Could Sleep Like a Platypus. Joke's on you, sir. I wish I could sleep. I don't.
That's good.
It says why you wish you could sleep like a platypus and not an elephant. And to be honest, I never thought about elephants sleeping. I don't think about other creatures sleeping. I recently found out that horses sleep laying down. So I just didn't know.
We need more educational content in our lives.
I'm pretty sure it's because when I read Black Beauty, Black Beauty slept standing up. But in hindsight, Black Beauty was also abused. So.
Right. Given the strict context of the book.
Anyways,
Black Beauty's sad.
I'm excited to see what this video has in store for us. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started.
Whoa,
Hell yeah.
hoist the colors high.
Yeah. Wish you could look at something else now, don't you, punk? That's right. Who wants something in front of them now for distraction?
As we watched the video, I remembered that someone in my comment section said, hey, can you watch the most recent Casual Geographic, but just be forewarned, there's whales in the beginning.
If only you could have had some solace. Being like, I wish I had something to glance at for a second with bright colors.
So I was thinking about it, right? And if you live in the United States, you have an estimated 77.3 years before you're expected to lease a casket, and we spend a third of that sleeping. Or at least we're supposed to. Saying we're supposed to get 8 hours of sleep a day is like telling New Jersey drivers there's a speed limit. Or telling people that the serving size for Chips Ahoy is 2 cookies. It's more of a suggestion, and no one in their right mind looks at this and stops themselves at 2.
Did I say 2 for $9?
Yes.
Why are they so damn expensive?
It says 2 for $9. And also, y'all eat Chips Ahoy? That's nasty.
You don't eat Chips Ahoy?
They're nasty.
Also, why is the bag red, not blue?
Because these are the chewy ones.
Delicious.
Disgusting.
But that still adds up to well over 20 years that we spend lying in a dress rehearsal for death. It's to the point where you gotta wonder just how much we would get done if we evolved past the need for sleep. I mean, just look at dolphins. They didn't have a choice. Because unlike us, dolphins don't breathe involuntarily. Every breath they take is a choice. Which is good, because when your home addresses the ocean, yet you breathe air for a living, having that reflex at the wrong time is a fast track to getting flatlined. Alternatively, the problem with having to consciously choose to breathe is going unconscious once means going unconscious full time. But the trick that dolphins and, well, cetaceans in general use is that they only rest one half of their brain at a time and just switch off between the two.
Oh, I tried that. I failed math class.
The right half of the brain being responsible for the left side of the body and vice versa. Dolphins literally sleep with one eye open, with that eye being on the same side as the half of the brain being rested. And it's funny, because dolphins evolved from a land animal, meaning they must have seen something so crucial on land that they spent the rest of their existence evolving to never go back. That's not the only sleep superpower cetaceans have that we don't. Dolphins and humans are actually a lot alike, and one of the child-friendly, safer guidelines ways is that when a dolphin decides to have a baby, it basically sacrifices any sleep for the near future. And that's because baby dolphins don't sleep for the entire first month of their lives, which means, by extension, neither do their mothers. And it's not like they can just use an iPad to negotiate a commercial break's worth of sleep. Now, 24 hours of non-stop movement in an ocean where leaving your child unsupervised for even a second can turn you from mother to morning real quick. It's not for no reason. Constantly being on the move lowers the baby's chance of getting perma-slept by predators. And in the cold, uncaring void of the ocean, perpetual motion helps keep them warm just long enough for their blubber to come in. It's great for the dolphin calves, but it means their mothers can go an entire calendar month without a wink of sleep.
Wild.
It's crazy because for us, driving while being awake for 24 hours straight is like driving boozed up under the influence. After 2 days, your immune system gets nerfed, so does your reaction time and even your decision making. And after 3 days, you'd be chilling with your paralysis demon, since that's when you can expect to start having hallucinations.
Not last year, but the year before, Chavezz and I had 3 different Thanksgivings to go to.
Oh my God. Never again.
And I, being the kind soul that I am, had offered to cook different dishes for all of them.
Because you did that thing where you turn off half your brain. Like they tried. Bro, so my wife was up cooking. And I remember sitting in the house being like, wait a minute, bro. We got to be at the first Thanksgiving, like, soon. Go to bed.
I was up for what? I was up for 16 hours before the first Thanksgiving and did not go to bed until after the last Thanksgiving.
It's not good when you have to start measuring time in Red Bull. Like, she don't know how long it's been, but she's like, I'm 4 Red Bulls in and I'm still pumping, baby. That's all that matters.
And then we made it to like the last one. And I don't know, something happened. And they're like, oh, you could go like sleep on the couch.
My mom's house.
No. It's at the last one.
Oh, at Nick's house.
And they were like, oh, why don't you go sit on the couch? And I was like, I can't get comfortable.
Yeah, I will fall asleep.
I will go to bed.
They're like, no, it's fine. She's like, you're not understanding. I am not going to wake up. I'm looking at my wife like, do not go sit on that couch. You know, you're supposed to be supportive as a husband. I'm like scribbling it, dude, you better not go on that couch. Bro, you start snoring in these people's house, bro, I swear to God.
You know, when you get that tired, you get delirious. Like, you get delirious, you get angry, you're just mad at like everything. Like, somebody asked me something, and I was like, what? And Josh was like, bro. Like,
you need to fucking relax.
You need to chill.
You're the one that's been up for 28 hours, but the rest of us has been getting sleep periodically.
Anyway, I vibe with this.
The longest a person ever stayed awake that we know of was in an experiment for 264 hours and some change.
Whoa.
Just over 11 days. You'll probably never see that record get broken since it would likely cost many lives in the process. Especially since at some point you'd go into micro sleep, where your body pretty much just forces your brain to go offline for up to 30 seconds at a time. It sounds like no big deal during class or at work, but get hit with micro sleep while driving, swimming, or flying a plane, and you'll see firsthand just how broken real life RNG can be.
That reminds me of my husband talking about my micro naps.
Yeah, you used to micro nap pretty heavily when you were in college too. It was like the worst. Literally, you'd be sitting there like, babe. She's like, I'm awake. Like, you literally were sleeping. Listen to me. What happened the last 30 seconds? Nope, that was a minute ago. You were asleep. You were asleep.
So yeah, go on a bender with a dolphin and you'll tap out long before he does. Ironically, dolphins normally sleep just as much as humans do. Technically. On average, dolphins get the same 8 hours of sleep we do, except when they do it, it's when the 2 halves of their brain rest in shifts that add up to 4 hours each. And honestly, I just feel like we could get a whole lot more done if we rested only half of our brain at a time. Or all that extra time means we just speedrun the destruction of humanity, but one way or another, we'd be more productive. Productive is a word koalas never use, mostly because koalas can't speak English, but also because the plush bear of the outback catches more winks than any other mammal. If you ever spend a day in a life with a koala, 18 to 20 of those hours would be spent waiting for it to reboot back up again. And the reason is because the koala's defining personality trait is eating a plant that has made it abundantly clear it's not meant to be eaten. Not only is eucalyptus toxic, it's so nutrient deficient that koalas might honestly be better off eating dirt. Koalas eat dirt. That choice in diet is why koalas often cosplay as a corpse for over 3/4 of its life. The eucalyptus leaves offer so little and take so much energy to digest that most of a koala's life happens when it's not even conscious for it. And the time they don't spend in a food coma is spent eating, screaming, and spreading chlamydia. Or eating their mother's green fecal pap paste, so they can get the bacteria needed to digest eucalyptus in the first place.
Why are you pausing at this awful time? Why are you pausing at such a horrific moment?
I'm not looking at that.
This is wrong. Everybody else is.
No, they're not. This is not on the screen for them. I take it off the screen so you guys don't have to watch it. Has anybody tried feeding koalas not eucalyptus and just seeing what happens?
Anything that eats poop is too dumb to realize there's other things in the world they could be eating. No, but you're not getting it. They eat shit.
But hear me out. What if you put a koala in a room, no eucalyptus, only food that is good for them?
Like what?
Pineapple. Broccoli.
Are you understanding where koalas live?
Lima beans.
Let's move on.
But would they eat it? I bet you if you could, okay, look, so you know how natural selection is a thing, right?
I don't think that's how.
So then the koalas that learned how to eat real food would be like stronger than the eucalyptus koalas. Then they could wipe out the eucalyptus koalas and have babies with other koalas that eat their real food. And then we would have koalas that eat real food.
Well, why don't you just write this suggestion up to a zoo, send it up. I'm sure they'll send it up to the top zoo person at the top of zoo society, and the zoo leader, the zoo magnodon, will get back to you. And signed, alpha male.
I feel like you're not taking me seriously, but someone out there will.
I would love to hear the discussion.
If there isn't a hell, there's definitely koala reincarnation. It's pretty much the same situation with sloths, eating nothing but leaves and getting almost the same nothing back. Which is why the sloth can knock out for a healthy 16 hours a day. Jesus. Or at least that's what we thought. You see, the thing is, most of what we thought we knew about sloths came from the ones in captivity. As in the ones who live life on recruit difficulty and can afford to sleep like it. Sloths in the wild though, they get about a good 8 to 9 hours of shut-eye max. Because in the wild, you have to get your own food while also avoiding becoming food. The reason we thought they were lazier than they actually are is because even when they're awake, they actively try to move as little as possible. Because sloths have the slowest metabolism of any mammal while also only eating lettuce for a living, they're really stingy on what they choose to waste calories on. How stingy, you ask? If a baby sloth loses his grip and falls to the forest floor, you can pretty much flip a coin on whether the mother spends the energy getting her only child back or just decides she'd rather start over. But yeah.
That's what my wife does when we have food in the other room. She literally looks at her phone like, I could DoorDash food because the front door is right here. That's 6 steps and the kitchen is 8 steps away.
Kitchen is at least 15
She's
steps.
like, I could save. Don't put an obstacle between her and the kitchen. She won't go in there all day.
And don't put me under a blanket.
Right.
If I'm under a blanket.
Gotta lift the blanket up.
If I'm under a blanket, I'm just not eating.
My wife would be like, can you grab that for me? I'm like, we can both reach it. She's like, yeah, but you're closer. That's less reaching distance.
So it's less effort put forth. I think you should be willing to do that.
Right.
Their cousins sleep almost twice as much as they do. The sloth's close relative, the armadillo, can doze off for an average of 16 hours a day. How sloths ended up being the ones that got named.
Yeah. 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 I just accepted it. I was just like, that's what I'm looking at.
I just feel like there was other footage that could have been used.
He's like, bro, that's all we got. Take it or leave it.
The armadillo can doze.
YouTube is hella finna demonetize.
They're not gonna know how to fucking make that. They're not gonna know what to do with that.
Average of 16 hours a day. How sloths ended up being the ones that got named after a whole sin is because when armadillos go to sleep, it's usually underground where we can't see them.
Got it.
It's also because most dillos are crepuscular, meaning they only come out early in the morning or right at dusk. And you know what? They're not the only members of the family that can outsloth a sloth. Giant anteaters are also close cousins of armadillos and sloths. They can turn in for a good 15 to 16 hours a day. And just like the sloth, giant anteaters also have molasses for metabolism, and they go into pretty much the animal version of power save mode called torpor. Don't worry, we're gonna come back to that, but you peep how the sloth's name got a beef with the Bible when 2 of its cousins are literally more of a sloth than it is. So we talked about some of the animals that sleep the longest, but what about the one that sleeps the deepest? Okay. You've probably been taught that the deepest stage of sleep is REM sleep, short for rapid eye movement. Named after the fact that along with muscle twitching and irregular brain activity, the hallmark of REM sleep is the fluttering of the eyes with the eyelids still closed. Pretty much every land animal gets hit with the REM at some point, but there's one mammal that spends more time in this stage than any other animal. And I'm willing to bet nobody watching this will guess what it is. Seriously, I'll put money on it. Or maybe you will if you watch this show. Because when the talk...
Platypus. Damn, it's already on the screen. Literally says platypus. God damn it. Son of a bitch.
And Dorito says, he's a platypus. They don't do much. He wasn't that far off base.
What's the Dorito's name?
Phineas.
The duckbill flex of nature goes out like a light for an estimated 14 hours a day, which makes it just another animal that's closer to being a sin than the animal that actually got verbally tattooed as one. Honestly, the deeper I go into this, the more I'm realizing we owe sloths an apology.
Sorry, bro.
And a name change. But not only do platypus spend more time offline than on, in experiments, the REM stage of sleep for them lasted anywhere from 5.5 to 8 hours.
Damn.
More than we've seen in any animal.
Crazy.
Just for your reference, if you slept 8 hours last night, probably about 90 minutes of that was REM, maybe 2 hours if you were overachieving. And platypus and REM have the same symptoms we do. The random twitching, the brain activity despite their body pretty much having a parking brake on it, and of course, the eyes moving. The only difference is, for us, not all, but most dreams happen during the REM stage. But since studies show that platypus don't get the same activity in the forebrain while sleeping that we do, it's likely that this goose rabbit didn't evolve enough to have dreams. But you want to know who did? Well, you remember how I said virtually every land animal eventually falls into REM? There's a reason I didn't say only land. Not only does the octopus enter deep sleep, but we've seen them change color and skin texture almost as if they're trying to match the environment of whatever world they created.
That's dope.
So yeah, there's a good amount of evidence, mind you, scientific peer-reviewed evidence that octopi can dream. Or at least they try to. But they're also the polar opposite of the platypus. Because where God's Science Fair project can REM for an entire work shift, the 8 foots of the ocean spend less than a minute in that stage.
What?
Out of the 2 hours total an octopus might go AFK for in a day, less than 1% of that is in the REM stage they go viral for. Which actually makes a lot of sense since a sleeping color switching octopus might be fun for us, but in an ocean where everyone's looking for a calorie come up, flashing your neighbors in your sleep is a good way to ensure you never wake up.
Right.
You never know when a shark might pull up and promote you to a full-time napper. That logic is why you'll often see prey animals sleep less than the ones that murk them for a living. That and the fact that if you're something like a zebra, you often don't have to go very far for food. Now compare that to a lion who can often go days and sometimes even a week without groceries, which is why you'll see a top predator like a lion call it in for 20 out of the 24 hours in a day.
One of the reasons why we study culture in terms of history and animal study and the sciences is mainly so we can check our own biases. And as far as like animal study, there's this thing that happened where Christians believed that animals didn't have souls or like cognitive function. So when studying cognitive function, they underestimated the cognitive function of a lot of animals and insects and things that we generally like discard. And like as time goes on and more studies are done and people are actually considering that we might be wrong, we're like discovering that the cognitive functions of a lot of these animals are way deeper than that we previously like assumed. Animals like dream. They have like relationships, they have like memories, they have communities. And I think it's just a way more colorful picture than what I got when I grew up like learning about animals.
Yeah, animals are definitely a lot more complex than like you generally learn.
Yeah.
And it's almost like one of the beautiful things about the internet is like all of this knowledge that before only a select few had. Like before, it was only if you studied a specific kind of zoology, a specific kind of, then you had access to this information. Mm-hmm. But now, like with the internet and with people like Casual Geographic, all of this knowledge is becoming more widespread. And it just
available.
It just makes the world a much more interesting and terrifying place.
A little scary, you know?
There's that, and sleeping during the hottest parts of the day and going food shopping when it's cooler and darker just makes more sense energy-wise.
True.
So pro tip, if you go to the zoo, make sure you go as soon as they open or as late as they'll let you, since that's when star attractions like lions are most active. Same with tigers, who are usually closed for business for the roughly same 18 to 20 hours as lions. And the animals that have to worry about getting packed up by predators like that are on the opposite end of the sleep spectrum. Like wild giraffes will sometimes run on only 30 minutes of sleep, and like every other wild animal here, that's not all at once.
Right.
They sleep for about 5 minutes at a time throughout the day, and all that still doesn't add up to a power nap for a person. An animal like a wild horse will take these little sleep breaks that add up to 3 hours in a day, and most of that's while standing. They only lay down for the REM.
So they do sleep while standing. I freaking knew it.
Mm-hmm.
Vindication!
And then what do they do?
And they go about their business.
Then they lay down.
And they go about their business.
Okay. All right.
And since a horse laying down is a horse at its most vulnerable, many herds will develop their version of a neighborhood watch group where one horse stands guard while the rest get theirs. The horses take turns keeping watch until everyone in the herd's gotten a chance to doze off, and I think that's pretty cool. Elephants earn the gold medal of sleep deprivation since those in the wild are often able to function off only an average of 2 hours of sleep a night. The rest of their time is spent either eating or looking for something to eat. Now, if you were paying attention, you might have noticed something. That the bigger animals like elephants and giraffes sleep way less than the smaller animals we already talked about.
Right.
And one reason might simply just be because plus-size animals just need to be awake long enough to eat more. Like elephants can put away 400 pounds of food a day. They're not doing that on koala timing. But that's not too hard when you're the world's heaviest vegan. But when you're a bear with an empty pantry, it's a lot different. And when there's less food around, some animals will make like a struggling college student and just have sleep for dinner. That sleep being hibernation. Except hibernation isn't like how I was taught in grade school. Like bears don't just peace out for the entire winter and just rise like the Undertaker come spring.
Really?
Hibernation isn't sleep. It's torpor that lasts weeks, sometimes months. See, I told you we'd come back to that. And I wasn't kidding. It's like their version of a power save mode when the struggle gets too real outside. Their metabolism, heart rate, and even breathing all slow down as they live off whatever energy they were able to store up. And when I say they go on cruise control, I mean some bears can slow their heart rate down to less than 10 beats per minute. But once again, it's not sleep. A hibernating bear is still very much awake. Matter of fact, here's a plot twist. Bears aren't even true hibernators. Because the legit hibernators, you know, the woodchucks, the bats, the squirrels, they pretty much just go a step above death, and coming out of that takes a lot of energy and effort.
Okay.
That's what I thought bears did.
Yeah. That is also what I thought they did. I thought they went into their little caves.
Yeah.
First of all, I thought all bears lived in caves. In hindsight, that doesn't make any sense. Bears live in forests.
Of course.
Not mountains.
Right.
But I thought bears lived in the mountains.
Big dirt holes.
And they went into caves and they went to sleep for like 4 months.
Yeah, I thought it was literally like I crawl in and I'm not moving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bears, on the other hand, they might as well just be the insomniacs of hibernators. What that means is if you mess around and manage to find a bear in its version of power save mode, it can still react fast enough to make sure you don't live long enough to find out twice. As you can see here, this man crossed the border of F around and now finds himself smack in the middle of Find Out City. So even though this built-in low battery mode technically isn't sleep, one animal managed to buff this to the point where they can sleep for years. And it's a very different type of bear.
Cicada.
The tardigrade, or as streets know it, the water bear. You probably already heard how weirdly stacked nature made them. Their personality trait is being able to survive anything except the things in life that actively try to kill them. And you know, now that we're talking about it, that's actually always been my gripe with them. I'm supposed to just accept the fact that there's a moss pit that can survive frigid cold, boiling pools, enough radiation to retire Superman's family jewels, and the literal vacuum of space. Yet the same nematodes that nearly put SpongeBob in a shelter can pack them up like a blunt. But water bears do have one superpower. When life starts lifing a little too hard, water bears just slip into suspended animation.
Like
Basically,
me.
it's power save mode on steroids, and they can tank whatever the world throws at them without food or water for not years, but decades.
Jesus.
They pretty much just shut down
like
everything about them and just stay that way indefinitely. There was actually a time where a scientist found a water bear that got trapped in a sample of dried moss in a museum. All it took was a little water and the swamp hog came back to life after being stuck there for 120 years. So yeah, technically it's not sleep and I am kind of cheating here, but when you can force quit out of life and not even die, you deserve to at least get mentioned. Even if the word swamp hog sounds like one of those things you should never Google. But that's gonna do it for this video.
Man, what a fantastic shirt.
What?
Did you not see his freaking shirt?
I was not.
Dog, that's a nice shirt.
I was not looking at his shirt.
Dang it, damn it. Oh wait, I can cuss now. Holy shit, that's a nice shirt.
Stop. No.
It's a nice
flipping
flopping shirt.
There we go.
Freaking fracking.
Much better, yes.
Fucking nice shirt, shit. That shirt. Sorry. It is nice. Okay, thanks for having me. I've had a great time.
Thank you for joining me.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I really enjoyed having you.
Wow. Wow.
In fact, I enjoyed having you so much. I can kiss your face.
Oh. Well, would you look at that?
I hope you guys enjoyed the video just as much as we did. Don't forget to leave your reaction requests and recommendations down in the comments below. And other than that, peace out, Hope Biscuits. It's Skittin' Lit.